Welcome to the Big Biz Show.
Taking care of business.
You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, we welcome you to the Big Biz Show. We're live inside the Loft 100 studios here. What's wrong?
ABHTY.
And a big old
Abcha.
howdy.
I am a professional, and it's timing, and I wasn't ready to go with it, and you guys are just ruined the
Have
whole
you
show for me.
on any other of your broadcasts, have you ever said a big howdy to you?
No, because it's for the Big Biz family only.
Yep.
Or is it a large financial program?
The Life Financial Program. But anyhow, a big old howdy to you.
No, there it was.
Mary Vergodwin.
Yeah.
Our executive producer, Greg Todorov, the friggin' awesomely talented DTT.
I feel like we need a little cowboy hat.
I know. A little straw. I need a little straw hanging out of his mouth.
Little howdy
right?
doody.
Just a little one.
We're here.
Speaking of Howie to you.
Yeah.
Howie Font, our lead.
Oh, Howie Font.
Segue.
Wait, I kind of like that. I kind of like that.
Like that? The big old Howie to you. There you go.
I love it.
There he is. Hey, Howie sent over something this morning, which I thought a Harvard study of 2,100 adults aged 18 to 29 found that about 42% of Americans under 30 say they're barely getting by financially. Aren't they supposed to not be getting by financially
Yeah,
under the age of
sucks to
30?
be them.
Like, I don't understand.
I didn't even have to ask a question.
I
knew that this was Sully bait. I wanted to send it over to you guys. I'm really happy that it got the reaction I wanted.
Yep.
Yeah, it seemed like, sky still blue, gravity still goes down kind of study. But I wanted to see if 42%, they say that's the highest number for the under 30 financially stressed, barely getting by category. That we've seen. Do you think
this is not deeply surprising.
The millennial is different than X?
I thought, when they do these kind of surveys, I thought to myself, Captain Obvious Incorporated said the likelihood of financial struggle decreases with higher education, as college graduates are more likely to have full-time jobs, better salaries than those still in school or without degrees. I still believe that to be true. I'm not sure if, I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a single thing in my college education that got me to where I am today, other than one statistics class, okay, where a guy taught me cross-tabulation, where you can feed a bunch of stuff in a computer. Because remember back then, you had the computers were like, you had
Get a lab.
you had Pong,
Yeah.
You had to feed it those cards.
TRS-80,
Yeah.
Commodore,
Yeah.
or the Radio Shack TRS-80 was there, Commodore
Yeah.
64.
Yep.
So I was able to, in my career, amass a bunch of investors and get 4 variables: the amount of money you're looking for, the stage your company is, the geographic region, and the industry, and create a software that I eventually sold for my first exit. But that was the only one class in all of my college career. And the only reason I went back to the guy and said, hey, can you teach me how to do that again? So I would argue that if I would have had an introduction at Thanksgiving dinner, would have done the same thing. I'm not sure. I mean, Howie, you went to Florida State. Did you? You're a really solid financial analyst. You're a trader. You run a portfolio of your own and about to run a bigger portfolio. You do this show. Anything in your college education gets you to where you are today?
I think the only thing that you can say is kind of the cliche argument that you went through 4 years of something. You show that you were able to complete a task. Honestly, I think it's primarily just you're 4 years older than a high school student. You
learn to navigate life with friends and things that happen. You're out of your parents' little
Do your
bubble.
own laundry, feed yourself.
I was doing that when I was 8. I'm not kidding you. I was doing my own laundry when I was 8 years old. I didn't need it. I'm just wondering how important the college experience is versus a college education. Because you're talking about college experience.
Yep.
He's talking about college education.
Yes, my experience was well, I went to Santa Barbara, so I don't want to dive into that. And now my daughter's going there, which is, challenging. But anyway, there's a lot more.
Is Isla Vista still? Is she going to be living in Isla Vista?
She will. She'll be in the dorms the first year, and then Ivy.
You know Isla Vista is? Look it up. Google Isla Vista.
Right there on Del Playa.
Yep.
All right, lots more to come. Keep it here. Don't go anywhere. And maybe another big old howdy to you. Who knows? As the Big Biz Show continues. As always, to our brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces, thank you for what you do, what you've done for us. It is the Big Biz Show. Inside the Loft 100 Studios, Costa Miraber Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov, and of course, Captain Finance himself.
Let's not forget the DTT this morning. We played a big gig up in Venice Beach last night at the Venice West.
Yeah.
Opening for the Whalers.
Get out of here.
I'm still smelling a contact high from here.
Yep.
It's a natural
When you walked into that club last night, you knew the Whalers were there. Even though they were it was great because we got to watch the sound check of the Whalers and got to see every major song during the sound check. So you did, because you sit through a whole concert and stuff like that. Sure. Some you like, some you don't. We caught in a half hour every major song that they ever recorded.
Is it true they all talk like, hey, baby?
No, those are pirates.
Oh,
pirates.
Okay.
Those are pirates.
Yeah.
Whalers.
Those are the guys that Captain Country commercial. Oh, Whalers, I get it. Whalers. Got it. Got it.
Ahoy, matey.
You're talking about 1800 literature like Master and Commander.
Right.
Get the harpoon already.
Because they're whalers.
Okay, never mind.
I got it, but it was.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you.
As an MC, I get the whole thing, but still, that was not.
Yeah.
I didn't bring the busser out, as you say.
That was not it, brother.
Let's not forget Howie Font, our analyst up here. We're talking today about Harvard study of 2,100. You're just joining us. 2,100 adults aged 18 to 29 found that 42% of Americans under 30 say they're barely getting by financially. My argument is you should not be getting by financially at that point.
Right.
Exactly.
You should be struggling.
Ramen and Taco Bell.
Well, no. See, that's the thing. They're buying Starbucks
Exactly.
every day.
That's what I was thinking.
Right? It's like, I can barely afford to go to Starbucks and get my $12 drink every morning.
They're Instacarting, they're door dashing, they're doing. Also, we talked recently about the college debt that they're probably in. They're needing to pay that.
Yeah, because the product isn't 30 times more expensive. It's the same. Look up latte factor for me.
It's the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
It's the lifestyle.
Yeah, the life. But so it's the experience versus the. Would you trade the experience? I'd trade the education part because I'm not sure the education matters unless you're going to law school or medical school and stuff like that.
The book?
No, the latte factor, just what it is.
Why you don't have to be rich to live rich.
So the latte factor basically says if you were to not spend money on Starbucks for 25 years, you end up with a pile of dough of that $6 a day or something like that.
The idea behind it is that the little things you regularly purchase can cut into your budget more than you might realize.
Yeah, right. So you're
Howie's told us that many times.
Your Slim Jims and your Red Bull every single day of your life.
Totally.
Funyuns.
Yeah, your Funyun butts. Your Filia.
Yeah.
Howie's trying to tell us something, but
Howie, we can't hear you. Howie's volume's down for some reason. God, can't hear. He's gonna fix that for a minute.
How about now?
There you go.
There we go.
So
Okay, 5 years into Zoom, we got it working.
Yeah.
What do we think about the effect of lifestyle creep and Instagram and everyone being able to see how you're living and what you're doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's much socially more difficult to have that kind of ramen diet.
Well, here's the reason I think why. Because when we were growing up, not you, Howard, but when we were growing up, your parents would say, if you're mad at somebody, write a letter, put it in a drawer, and then the next morning open up and see if you'd send that letter. Normally you wouldn't. Now, not only do you write the letter, you take it to their house, you tape it to their door with a picture of your you-know-what, and then set their house on fire. That's basically what you're doing right now. I mean, honestly, it's
Because of social media?
Because of social media.
also every little thing, like a girls' night out is now a themed thing. It's going to cost $500 just to do the most basic things because they have to make it Instagrammable and postable and interesting.
Yep.
So everything, the ante is so much higher, right?
Well, I think it just must be. I mean, you're taking pictures of your food, your coffee, what you're doing. You have to look good. I mean, it just is.
Okay, wait. So is it because people want fame more than they want money? Is this about fame? Is they all want to trying to get famous?
I don't know if it's famous. They just want to look like
social posturing. This is the new Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Yes.
Not me and Costa. Like, hey, gained 16 pounds today. Hey, filed bankruptcy last week.
Ate another jar of mayo.
Also,
you never see the downside. Like, hey, stole a car last night. You only see. Hey, living my best life. You'll see how I'm a pair of 56 regulars.
Yeah. Got evicted yesterday.
Like we didn't have like a real Facebook, like Lifebook. Stuff that happens, like unfiltered, all the good stuff and bad stuff.
Right, but to the point, and then on a how much maybe another serious level to it is the fact that people see everybody else. Oh my God, I have to live my life. I have to do that way. I've got to, then go into hawk or debt. But then the depressive levels of what they see and aren't able to be part of after they blow that bank account.
Yeah, but I think that happens in college too, though. I remember in college the rich kids versus the have. I was a have-not in college. I remember a kid, a buddy of mine, had the cool car and everything else.
Yeah.
And the comparative thing happens, I think, when you're very little. But I think the social media doesn't help at all.
And they're doing very expensive face regimens, and they're buying Botox, they're buying Ozempic, they're buying all of the things to keep up how they think they should look. That is not needed when you're in your 20s, but that's what they're starting in teenagers.
And Mary, maybe you're going through this now, but maybe make sure that the formal and the gala budgets or the sorority stuff is capped, because I've seen people go down that rabbit hole. I mean, when you talk about themed parties and dresses for Rush Week and all that, and a lot of pressure to keep up, and I think people need to bench that and look in the mirror.
I said something that was funny.
No, Sully cannot contain himself, and I don't know if he's trying to not let it out or if he's just gonna.
This is what happens when you spend a night with whalers.
He's still laughing.
He's got the giggles.
I was just thinking when Mary said, all of the skin regimens and stuff like that, I was saying, boy, if Mike lived in this day and age, his first breast reduction would have been at 12 years old. How do you hold that in? Oh my goodness. So back to this study, Howard. So it says covering basic needs like food, housing, transportation has become increasingly expensive. First of all, how many people going to college are covering their own food and housing expenses? That'd be interesting to find out.
I think it's such a small percentage. Your parents are either paying for a meal plan, the scholarship you have is providing for your meal plan, et cetera, et cetera.
I went to school here in San Diego where I lived, okay? And lived at home part of the time, lived in an apartment part of the time, but I also had a full-time, or I should say part-time job.
Yep.
What was called Price Club, now called Costco at the time. So, because you could do that. You could go to college. I'm not sure that's possible today to do that because of the regimen at school. I think it's a little more.
They have work-study programs, though, so I don't even know what that is exactly, but we're going to find out real soon.
Thing on the show about the level of financial support people are getting into their, I would say, almost mid-20s. But I think people from 20 to 24 are getting on average something like $3,000 worth of support from family a month. So that's pretty substantial. I mean, that's a lot of, rent after college and all that.
I just think that this final sort of the final exclamation point to this study was overall the research highlights a generation struggling to achieve financial stability amid rising costs and limited economic opportunities. You could have said that in 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010,
save your money.
2020.
Save your money. That's
great. This is what it comes down to. What's the market doing, buddy? What's happening? Are we stabilizing?
We are doing today is a good day. We looked in the crystal ball, the magic Trump 8 ball this morning, and he said, today we're not going to do any more tariffs. The after hours, there was a big bump because auto tariffs were going to be paused. And this morning, that was fake news. That's not happening. So it's kind of chaos. There's a put on the bond market. I think the president is going to
explain that for our listeners' view and our viewers' view. Howie?
So everyone's talking about the Fed and the presidential put, which is just insurance. There's a level below which Chairman Powell and President Trump will not let the economy go. In the stock market, that looks to be about 20%. That was that below 5,000 level that we saw a couple weeks ago. Now we're kind of staying stagnant. We're going sideways right now. So everyone's priced in. It's still a little bit volatile, but the bond market, that has to do with how much debt we can issue and how expensive it is, because the U.S. does pay interest. It's never missed a payment. It's not going to miss a payment. So that can be expensive. If that rises too much, that interest rate on U.S. debt, then the president's going to maybe
stop. Well, and also let's make it very clear that when you're talking about interest rate and payment on our debt, it's not necessarily a credit card debt that we're paying a payment on. Many people have purchased bonds. okay, purchase with the full faith of the U.S. government that they're going to pay an interest payment on the bond. So this is not necessarily we borrowed money. It's the fact that somebody bought a piece of our debt and we guaranteed and serves with U.S. savings bonds or treasury bonds or municipal funds and such. So I think that's the one thing that people don't understand about when we look at the U.S. debt clock. You see all this debt. It's not debt that we necessarily owe other countries or they owe other factions. It's the fact that we've got a lot of folks, Japan and China, have purchased so much U.S. debt that we owe them an interest rate. So, but it's not a function of we went to them and borrowed money. I think that's a really important category that people don't understand. Is that look, it's categorized much worse than it is, and there it is. You're at $36 trillion. In $37 trillion in national debt. Meaning that's not the debt that we necessarily owe because we got into trouble. It's the fact that people are still buying on the faith of the U.S. government, being that they're still betting on us.
They added a Doge clock up there. Let's find out what that is next time.
Yeah, that'd be good. Howard, that's your job next time. What's the Doge clock all about?
All right. Thank you, Howard. Keep it right here, everybody. Much more to come. It is the Big Biz Show. See you in a second. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer@celientgroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane?
Inside the beautifully spacious, air-conditioned Loft 100 Studios, that is the Day Trader Trio, best in the business, self-taught, no lessons. Back here at the bar, it's Costa, Marybird Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
I'm excited to hear what that Doge talks about.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how much money he's saved so far. That's how much money has been saved so far.
You look so skeptical.
Yeah, that's how much money has been saved so far by looking at government excess, like the $50 million F-18 ashtray. Those type of things.
Yeah.
That's just weird, or the study, the ketchup study that we paid for to see what ketchup rolls faster down the paper plate.
Right, or how many little packets actually fill a ketchup bottle.
Money well spent.
Yeah, it is. We need to know that stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
well, those are also grants the U.S. government gives to colleges.
Oh, yeah.
To conduct those experiments.
Yes.
Because it's important that we know that stuff. Although we're still talking about it, so it must be something that interests us. Talk about our next guest there, buddy.
John Yu is the CEO of Kairos Pharma. Of course, their ticker symbol is KAPA, and we welcome him back to the Big Biz Show. Mr. Yu, how are you, sir? Welcome back.
Doing good, thank you. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
Great to see you guys again. I want to, just for the people that didn't get to see you last time, had such a great response. We wanted to have you back and want to continue to have you back because a couple of things included in your new letter to shareholders. Let's take it from the top for the people that didn't see you last time, John, and just talk about what you guys do over there at Kairos Pharma, because this is something sort of the tip of the spear on a lot of males' minds, but a lot of medicine as well. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so as a neurosurgeon, one of the most difficult things that I have to do is give a patient the diagnosis of a cancer, of a brain cancer. But it pales in comparison when the cancer comes back, when the tumor has become resistant to the drugs they're being treated with. And what we're focused on doing is reversing the drug resistance that develops to the common drugs that are used against cancer. And so we have a phase 2 trial in prostate cancer and a phase 1 trial in lung cancer. And this is to reverse the effects of CD105, which is a protein that causes this resistance. And we've developed an antibody that targets this protein that reverses the resistance in prostate cancer and in lung cancer. But we've shown in the lab that it works with breast cancer and colon cancer as well. So it's a central mechanism of resistance that develops to drugs for cancer.
Yeah, that glioblastoma drug you guys have, that's the worst sort of brain cancer there is, just because it's the quality of life. Boy, that's a death sentence so far, and if anybody can get closer to becoming to help those patients, it's going to be a big deal. Before we get any further, let's talk about this almost $1 million grant you got from the Department of Defense in terms of lung cancer. That's kind of a big milestone.
Yeah, so what that does is helps us identify those patients that are becoming resistant to the drug, which is called Tagrisso, which works fantastically until it stops working. And so the biomarker looks for genes in the tumor that makes it become resistant, so that we know that our drug will work. And not only is it important for determining whether our drug will work, but it actually improves the likelihood of success of a final trial or a phase 3 trial from 55% to 76%. So it really loads the deck in terms of being able to predict the patients that will respond. So that's what the DoD grant does for us. It allows us to find biomarkers like we did for our prostate cancer trial.
Dr. John Yu is the CEO of Kairos Pharma. Their ticker symbol is KAPA. Dr. Yu, is that all types of lung cancer? Is that smokers? Is that people who may have been exposed to, some sort of asbestos or something like that out there?
Yeah, it consists of about 20% of patients with lung cancer, and generally it's from non-smokers.
Okay.
And it's called EGFR-dependent lung cancers, and patients develop this from a mutation in a gene. And Tagrisso is the drug that is used for them, and it works very well, like I said, until it stops working.
Okay.
And that's when our drug is designed to reverse that resistance that develops.
Hey, John, talk about ENV105. That's your prostate cancer therapy. Talk about where we're at on that.
So we completed enrollment in our safety phase, and then we'll report the results of that and the interim efficacy results at the end of this quarter in May and about July. And we think this will be a turning point for the company in being able to report the results of the trial, so that you can have sort of a looking glass of how the trial's going and how patients are responding to this drug.
Hey, John, I've got to tell you, I'm not a huge fan when public companies put out a letter to shareholders, but your letter to shareholders was outstanding. I think most people should use it as a template, because it wasn't here's an excuse, it's here's what's happening, and here's market dynamics that are going on. And oh, by the way, we've got some real fans here. Talk about what made you make that decision, because I think it was a solid decision to do that.
Well, we'd like to keep our shareholders informed of what's going on, particularly during turbulent times, and we're certainly in some turbulent times. But we're keeping our heads to the grindstone, and moving forward with our clinical trials and our research, and always looking for partnership opportunities as well. So we think we're on the right track, and we wanted to inform our shareholders of that.
Well, we can't wait to have you back on the air again. And before I let you go today, so what are you looking forward to most here for the rest of 2025 as a company?
Well, we're looking forward to completing our trials and informing patients of the efficacy and safety. We're going to be participating in the Boral Healthcare Conference and the H.C. Wainwright Healthcare Conference in May and September. We're going to be presenting at ASCO, which is the major cancer
That's the major one.
meeting. So and that's going to be in June. And so we have some big things coming up.
Well, we'll see you very soon on the air, John. Appreciate you coming on once again.
Dr. John Yu, CEO, Kairos Pharma, their ticker symbol KAPA. All righty, don't go anywhere. Much more to come on this here Big Biz Show. Is the world famous day trader trio. Best in the business. Back here at the bar, the Big Biz Show rolls on. Mike Costa, Mary Bird Godwin. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully. Great to have you along today, Big Biz Show.
Okay. So what does doom scrolling mean, Mary?
It means when you get sucked into your phone and the headlines are not great and you just like keep going because you can't get enough.
Because UFOs was to take over on April 24th, I've heard.
What?
UFOs was to take over the world on April 24th.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then I think there was a big, there's supposed to be a tidal wave here in San Diego on the 21st of April.
Surf
Killed
it.
us all.
Yeah.
But
it's just like you get stuck in. I mean, I don't know why sometimes it's called doom scrolling, but also sometimes it's happy scrolling or laughter scrolling. If you're it's basically just like you keep going because you're just sucked into the vortex of whatever's happening.
Well, guess who's here?
Our favorite.
Our favorite. Corey Perlman.
Yes.
Perlman is a social media keynote speaker, owner of Impact Social Media. Is there a big change coming into these reels that we're looking at there, Corey?
It's great to be back with you guys. I would say they've actually gone a little bit longer, so we're up to 3 minutes now. So you can get a little bit more meat inside your reels than you were before. Under 60 seconds is hard to do, so now it's up to 3 minutes. So you got a little bit longer.
Can I say it should be a felony? A couple things should be a felony. I think if you don't know your right-of-way rules on the road, it should be a felony.
I agree.
I think anytime a major an NFL team leaves San Diego, it should be a felony.
More like death penalty.
And I think when it says, when they get to the story where they're about to give you the punchline, and then there's not another punchline where and then he almost killed his watch and follow, and it never happens. It's like, you know what? I think that should be illegal.
You mean like when reels are cut up into parts?
But they don't do them all.
They do. You just have to go to their feed.
No, sometimes they don't exist, do they, Corey? That's not. Listen, I think there needs to be a rule that says if there's not a part 2, don't say look at part 2.
I think
I spend more time looking for part 2 than actually watching part 2.
That is a problem.
I think we literally are on the same feed because what happened to you happened to me yesterday. I was watching a random, it was like a prison video of this guy who was in prison for 30 years of his life, and he was a teenager at the time, and we were supposed to see him as an adult. That was part 2.
You'll never believe what he looks like now. Bam, no part 2 ever.
No part 2.
I have a question, Corey, about the 3-minute reels. So I have noticed, whether it's personal or business-related reels, to keep the viewer watching past, you kind of look at your stats and see how long people are actually watching the video for and the duration. I forget the terminology for that, but they drop off after the first 15 seconds a lot of times because everyone's scrolling. What's tips for businesses to keep people on the video?
Before you get there, in media, radio, remember TSL? TSL?
Time spent listening.
Remember TSV viewing?
Yep.
In terrestrial media, there is a metric called time spent listening. You didn't get paid unless you have quarter hours, right, Greg? Wasn't there ratings based on quarter hours? So if we can keep listening for 14 minutes and 59 seconds, it doesn't matter. Because that's why you didn't signal when you're going to a break. You say, hey, right after this, people will say, when we're back. Nobody ever says that on TV or radio because we never want anybody to switch off. We want to surprise them when we went to a commercial break. I wonder if they're, to Mary's point, do they make more money the longer we watch? Is that how that works? Because if that's the case, then there needs to be some standards in terms of, because all they're doing is they're gaming the system there. They're making you watch all the way through. They're getting paid for the content, but then that's their only intention was not to entertain you or educate you. The idea there was so they could get their 3 minutes of whatever, correct?
Yes, and instead of being paid now, it's with algorithm juice. So the longer that you can keep somebody watching, the more they'll serve your video up to more people. And the number one thing to answer your question, Mary, is don't bury the lead. In the first 6 seconds, you have to tell them what you're about to give them in an exciting way, or they won't stay to the end to find that way.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of times, I notice sometimes in like podcast clips, they'll show the highlighted funny part first really quickly, and then they'll go back to the beginning so that you're hooked, just like you're saying.
Exactly. So they'll tease you with you're about to see, or I'm about to give you. I think I told you guys I've been seeing all the pickleball clips, and they always say the beginning from the end. You're going to learn the number one reason you're screwing up at pickleball, or you can't hit a two-handed backhand right now, and then they give it to you.
Yeah. Corey Perlman, social media keynote speaker, owner of Impact Social Media Inc. CoreyPerlman.com, ImpactSocialMedia.com. Corey, I'm getting duped now by these screenshots. They're like at the beginning of like a YouTube video or the picture of
it's not the thing. The thumbnail.
Thumbnail.
The thumbnail's killing me. Oftentimes it's a voluptuous female, and then I click on the thing, and it's just. I'm like,
what? You know your private life, Mike.
He's honest.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Do something about that.
Yeah, the old sex sells, I guess, still exists in media
allegedly.
today.
Thirst trap.
Yeah. So not good news for us, but it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, that's the game we live in. So yeah, sorry about those thumbnails.
Hey, I heard a term the other day that I haven't heard of in a long time, and maybe it's just because I'm not at the tip of the spear like you two guys are. SEO. Is SEO still a thing?
Yeah, you're like the 10th person to ask me that this week. Yes, it is still a thing. The key is knowing your top 3 or 4 phrases that you want to rank for, and then use that content in everything that you produce. So I'm a social media keynote speaker. I want to make sure that I have those words in everything I talk about on social.
See, SEO means what again?
Search engine optimization. Yes, Greg knows. I have a question about this too, because back in the day, I would say a few years ago, it was like on websites, they encouraged you to have a blog so that you could have blog posts that had all these keywords, the 3 ones maybe you identify for your brand. Is that still a trick of the trade?
It is, but I think it's more about social posts now. It's like I said, defining those 3 key phrases that define you, and then using those in your social content, even more so than your blog or website.
Do those show up on Google searches? Like an Instagram post would show up on a Google search? Because I don't think that used to be a thing.
Yes, they absolutely can. If you Google my name, you'll often see, tweets or Instagram posts or LinkedIn posts as opposed to websites or blog articles. Whoa. But YouTube videos are key for this as well. YouTube is huge for SEO.
Where's the future of things like Facebook? What's the other one? Snapchat? Is Snapchat one? Snapchat, Facebook. Anything other than Instagram and LinkedIn. Where's the future of those social media?
So usually you ask me that question with like 6 seconds to go. I don't know. But I will tell you that TikTok is still in that sort of crazy world right now that we don't know where it is. So just keep this in mind, Sully. It's rented land. So don't ever hold all your marbles in one basket, all your eggs in one basket. Make sure you got a website, an email list, an asset that you own as opposed to just rent.
Yeah, because that background structure is not owned by us, right? I mean, anything that's on there, and I think that's what's scary for many people. You were talking about college kids before and how much money people are spending on events so they can post stuff.
Yep.
The problem is it's not there forever, is it, Mary? I mean, that's a piece of it. It could go away in a Mike having 16 different failures on Twitter and having to change his name now to something different. How many times have you been kicked off of Twitter now?
Only 6.
How about X? Have you been kicked off to X?
Yeah.
You've been kicked off to X also?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you lost an X one too?
Yeah. But I'll be back on. As long as people lend me their emails to set up a new account, I'm good to go.
How many emails? Is that what it comes down to? Different email addresses?
Yeah.
So now you're the real Mike Costa, San Diego, 1978.org.
Charlatan, 100%.
Corey, what's coming up new here before I let you out of here today in social media? Anything on the horizon? Like,
what's the next?
What's the next?
I have a quick question for him because he's the professional he is. So you just made mention of tweets. Now that it's called X.
Are they called X?
What are we calling them?
They're still called tweets.
Hey, no, you can't call them tweets. It's Twitter.
You've asked the same question that I've laughed about a million times. Like, what is it? Are we Xing? Are we come on, Elon, give us some kind of verb for what we're doing on your platform.
They're called dojis, Greg.
They're still tweeting, right?
Most people call them tweets.
As far as I know, they're still tweeting.
Yeah.
Right?
As far as I know,
I've never been comfortable
tweeting.
saying I'm tweeting.
Okay, I have a question.
Me neither.
On these platforms, it says a lot of times AI. You can have AI write your posts. Is that right? I think I see it in LinkedIn and Instagram now.
Yeah. Thank God I wrote a book called Authentically Social. Now that we can have AI write our tweets for us, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, what is it accurate? What have you used it and have you tried to use it? And what do you think about that?
I do, but always with a personalization touch to it. It's nice for them to start the thought process, but you absolutely have to finish it or you will look like a robot.
So how does it work? Do you post upload a photo and it scans the photo and tells you what they think you should say about it? How does it work?
You can do that, or you can tell it, you can give it direction on the type of thought that you want to create, some context to it, and then it'll put the bulk of the writing done for you. And we're only getting started.
Do you know what helped for me is that I stopped posting to Instacart and started posting to Instagram. I think it probably had more followers.
I was wondering why I saw your food order on Instagram.
God, I hate this Instacart app. Nobody's not getting no more followers. Thanks, Jerry.
Corey Perlman, social media keynote speaker, owner of Impact Social Media Inc. CoreyPerlman.com, ImpactSocialMedia.com. Keep it here. Lots more to tweet about. Big Biz Show continues.
Have you seen my linked out profile?
Big Biz Show continues. We're in Southern California inside the Loft 100 studios. Of course, that is the world famous day trader trio. It happens.
What do we have here?
Our CEO is a great guy, a good friend, Jim Joyce, CEO. He's also an inventor. Sigyn Therapeutics, he's the head of course, their ticker symbol is SIGY. Always great to have him back with us in studio. Mr. Joyce, how are you?
Doing good, Mike. Good
Excellent.
to see you guys.
And also an ex-NFL player, correct?
That's right, Denver Bronco.
Denver Broncos?
Denver Broncos.
Still a fan?
I am.
Oh, okay, good. What about the Chargers?
I try.
Well, it's funny you mention it because the NFL draft is tonight. How many years ago for you?
Oh,
joining the NFL?
Mike.
Wow.
All right,
Way
let's
to
just
kill
say
the interview.
30 years.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'm so glad we have you in studio because I thought you were going to be via Zoom. But now that we have you trapped here, we can keep you a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So this is good. Last time you were on there, we had a great response. Talk about Sigyn. Talk about what you guys are trying to get done and the latest press release because you guys are 15 years in the making, as you say, and it's all good stuff. You're at the right place, right time.
Yeah, emerging new industry, 15 years in the making. Our focus is development of blood purification technologies that address unmet needs in global health. And what we've developed with our lead product, Sigyn Therapy, is a product that can address a multitude of critically relevant therapeutic targets across sepsis, infectious viral pathogens, and our lead program is in dialysis patients.
So when you talk about blood purification, I think that's what you said. What does it mean specifically? Does it mean like doing an oil change? Is that basically what that is?
Well, you could simplify it that way. But essentially, it's the ability to circulate your bloodstream through a device that can then separate your blood cells away from therapeutic targets and then have a means to capture those therapeutic targets to reduce their circulating burden before the blood's returned back to the body.
So is the idea of taking the blood cancer out of the blood, right?
That's right.
Wow.
Well, there's deleterious factors. And when there's infectious disease, if you're infected with a viral pathogen or if you have sepsis, there's an immune response that creates this inflammatory presence of what are known as pro-inflammatory cytokines in the bloodstream. And this is your inflammatory response, but it can generate a multitude of other responses in the body that can become life-threatening, can cause organ failure. And we're trying to address the different moving pieces that underlie these mechanisms. And in fact, our lead device, among public companies, it's the first device that's able to address infectious viral pathogens, bacterial toxins, and pro-inflammatory cytokines. And there's been previously very high-valued companies that have addressed each of those targets individually, but not as a whole.
When you talk about sepsis, last time you were there, we spent some time on this and about what a burden it is to U.S. healthcare. And did you say number one mortality in hospitals is because of sepsis or something?
Number one cause of death in hospitals. One in three hospital deaths.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
And in regards to the burden cost to the U.S. government, it's estimated to be between $65 billion to $80 billion each year.
Just to the government, taxpayers.
That's right.
Because and did it sneak up on us? I didn't hear about sepsis 20 years ago. I heard about it 5 years ago, maybe. Is this something that snuck up on us, or?
You know, it's interesting. I was just talking to the heads of a large nonprofit group called the Sepsis Alliance, and that's one of the things they lament about is they're constantly working on educating people on what sepsis is and what the symptoms are. And people may go into the hospital with, an infectious bacterial infection, an infectious viral infection, but at the end of the day, what they end up dying from is sepsis, an overreaction of your immune system, which can lead to multiple organ failure.
And doesn't
ultimately
it
death.
come on kind of quickly, or you could be in, like my mom had an open wound from something, skin cancer being taken off that got infected. She felt she was delirious. They didn't know if she was having a stroke. She went to the hospital. It was sepsis, and it was kind of a short window when it was scary.
Yeah, it can happen very quickly, or it can come on slowly. But fortunately, there's new knowledge emerging. It used to be you had a bacterial infection, the immune system over-responded, and that could create, excessive inflammation, which could essentially, lead to organ failure. And it's the same thing with viral pathogens.
What are you looking forward to most? And what's next in terms of milestones you can talk about?
Well, the biggest near-term milestone is kicking off the first in-human study with Sigyn Therapy. And this is a study where we're enrolling dialysis patients that have, we were talking about sepsis earlier. They have the same issue with the same underlying targets. These patients have what's called endotoxemia, bacterial toxin, and concurrent inflammation. And their lifespan, once they're on dialysis, their lifespan on average is about 5 years. There's a 20% annual mortality rate of the population. And the primary cause of death, early death for these patients, is cardiovascular disease and sepsis. And underlying this is these patients suffer from excessive levels of endotoxemia and inflammation. So we have the ability to put our device in series with their dialysis cartridge during normal treatments to reduce the circulating presence of endotoxemia.
And what is that secret sauce that you're putting in there that separates that out? Is that, I know it's proprietary, but it's not just a machine with a freaking small screen on it,
it's actually, Sully, it's actually pretty cool, because our device has 3,300 hollow fibers that flow through the center of this cartridge, and blood flows into it at a certain rate. It's important that the flow rates are as appropriate, because it needs to create pressure, because these fibers have porous walls, and with the right amount of pressure, it'll push our targets through the porous walls into this extra lumen space outside of the fibers,
and
inside
it catches
of the
the
shell.
target.
Out in that space, we have a formulation of adsorbent components that have over 200,000 square meters of surface area on which to adsorb, bind, or capture our therapeutic targets. So to give that some perspective, that's like 50 acres of surface area in every device to be able to capture these targets.
Okay, and that's the magic there.
That's the magic.
So so when do we get to throw them and see them in every single hospital? When do we know that we've saved lives?
Yeah. Well, we've got this study. We've got it teed up at 3 site locations, and this is what's called a feasibility study. We're a Class 3 medical device, so we have a feasibility study, which is a safety study, and then a pivotal study for approval. And the beauty of this study design is we can bridge out of the feasibility study into a pivotal study to address endotoxemia and inflammation in dialysis patients, but we can also bridge into infectious viral pathogens and into sepsis pivotal studies.
We need to get you back. I mean, I feel better now.
Yeah,
I feel better when you come here. I feel better like when the next big tootie hits. It's like this thing.
Jim Joyce, CEO, Sigyn Therapeutics. Their ticker symbol is SIGY. You'll be seeing a lot more of him here on The Big Biz Show. Speaking of The Big Biz Show, that is going to do it for us. For everybody here who makes it possible, thank you. And the biggest thank you goes to you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.